What's up guys, Speed here, and today we're going to be looking over patch 7.23c. Interesting, because it's actually a fairly big patch, which is surprising because IceRock has been doing a really good job of just continuously updating the game and really keeping it fresh. So props, thank you Dota. Love it as always. And also what I want to talk about in this video is a couple of heroes I think are particularly good and being underused right now and should be considered overall. So let's get into it and definitely talk about it. Patch 7.23 has been one of the best patches of all time. I'm not kidding. I actually think this patch is absolutely fantastic. So much so that I've been playing it a lot and learning about the patch, coming up with new strategies, understanding the new items, the new heroes. It's really been a blast. And as a result, we've made 36 new pieces of content. Yes, 36 new pieces. That is a very high number. In the last week, me, your boy Speed, Yamson, a top tier carry player, and Frempo, a top tier carry player, are all making content you can't find anywhere else besides on the gameleap website. If you're trying to improve, because that's why we're all here, you have to go over there. There's just more content on there than you will ever find here on YouTube. Everyone who has signed up in the last week has been raving about it, and check out exactly what they're talking about today in the description down below. So first off, let's just go over the general changes. Outpost XP reduced from 25 per minute to 10. Also, all level 10 XP talents were reduced to 20%, which is insane, right? Because a hero like Tusk in particular that comes to mind, now all of a sudden just gets demolished. In addition, I believe Weaver had a 35% at his level 10, and that's actually a hero I was planning on recommending towards the end of this video, but now, not really, because 20% it's good, but without the outpost jacking up that number, because I really think the XP gain talents were really good, in part due to these outposts. Both getting nerfed hurts. It hurts. In addition, the level 15 talents are also nerfed. So what heroes even have 50% XP? I think Warlock does. Jakiro? No, not Jakiro. I don't even know. Glyph duration on creeps reduced from 7 to 4. Now guys, why do you need to understand this change? What does this actually mean? Because a lot of people don't actually get what this change means. Essentially, what players were doing to counter out multi-shot. So if you don't know, towers right now have multi-shot. If you glyph, and it's a tier 2 or better, in multi-shots. And it's obnoxious. Frankly, I don't like it being in the game. That's my personal take. I think it's just a bad mechanic that prevents pushes and makes Dota play really slow. Like, it literally just, if someone's diving your tier 2, you should also just click multi-shot and everyone gets destroyed. It's really insane. So overall, I don't like this. And now all of a sudden, the glyph duration on creeps was reduced from 7 to 4, which is bizarre because now this makes the multi-shot even stronger. Because what you would do to counter the multi-shot if they were using it to actually, defend their tower and kill your entire creep wave was that you would glyph your creeps, right? And it would stop it. But now the tower lasts longer than the creeps, which stinks. I don't like it. I frankly don't understand why this is being pushed as a mechanic. Maybe I'm missing something, but I don't know. I don't like it. Innate damage block now works against player units again. Same rules as the regular damage block now. All I'm going to say is rest in peace, guys. I had a lot of fun in this patch. I had a lot of fun. I'm not going to lie. I had a lot of fun. 7.23b. A lot of fun. Nature's Prophet, probably one of the best hero, if not the best hero in Dota at that time. Unfortunately, this puts him a little bit lower again. Is the hero still good? Yeah, it's still good. He's still pretty good. But the innate damage block is back on player units, so I'm very sad. But innate damage block changed from 100% for 8 block to 50% for 16 block. Okay, so basically it's overall the same amount of block, just you are more likely to block a higher percentage. So essentially, every melee hero starts with a stout shield, because that is what old stout shield was, if I am not mistaken. It was 50% block for 16 damage, so kind of bizarre. Bizarre to me. Why? I don't feel like every melee hero should start with a stout shield. Maybe that's just me. Maybe it's not. Don't know. Courier items that are locked will now not be delivered, nor will they be returned to the stash. So essentially what you can do in anticipation of not wanting to get a specific item, like let's say you want to get your BKB delivered over your Clarity or something like that, you can essentially lock one of the items. I think that's what that means. Maybe there's a different reason, but that seems like pretty convenient if that's what the use is for. Don't know though. I don't fully understand why that was needed, but maybe that's the reason. Courier base movement speed increased by 5. That doesn't seem particularly good to me. I mean, like, sure, the couriers are just way too slow. Like, just being real, these couriers are just dying all over the place. Any hero can kill them easily. It's just, I don't know. It's a bit cluttery. It feels like, I personally like it, to be honest. I just think it's a bit of a mess, is what I'll say. Neutral items no longer roll if there is an enemy of the killer. Okay, so what would happen in the past is essentially if you were taking stacks, you would get your item yoinked if they, like, could just walk in and take it as you were killing the stack. But now that doesn't happen, because if you're just killing a camp and there's an enemy in the AoE, you just can't get an item, which, okay, I think it's good. I don't feel like interesting. Maybe it's because Valve doesn't want these neutral items getting yoinked, because it would be a significant swing in quote-unquote net worth or just quote-unquote power, because one team would have 4 and one team would have 2, which is a big deal. So yoinking an item was huge, and now it's just basically impossible. Okay, so cool little changes to Grove Bow. I think this is overall good. The debuff duration was reduced from 10 to 6, which is a nerf, but it gives 10 attack speed, which is, it's okay. It's okay. You know what I mean? Like, it's nothing crazy, but 10 attack speed's still good on a lot of these ranged heroes that don't always have innate attack speed. Heroes like, Invoker, it could be good on. Like Exhort Invoker, it could be good on, relatively good on Nature's Prophet, Storm. Yeah, it has some value. Essence Ring, big buff. Health increased from 375 to 425. I mean, it makes you really tanky if you have this item. It can just be kind of a hard slot, in my opinion, to fit in. But overall, some real value here. Also, now it's only a 20-second cooldown, so a lot of potential here. Vampire Fang's lifesteal increased from 14 to 15, so once again, if you pair this with lifesteal, you just lifesteal like crazy. Enchanted Quiver, I definitely felt like this was one of the worst items. It just gives you this passive where every 8 seconds you could shoot from 225 damage, but from 400 away, and it wasn't great. It was kind of underwhelming. Next up we have the Imp Claw, and I felt like this item was actually really good already. Maybe I'm mistaken, I just feel like the 24 damage it gives in particular, being only a tier 2 item, is actually fairly significant. 24 damage, like on a carry that just simply has an extra slot, and then getting an extra, crit, which is good. It's just an extra, a casual crit, solid, is pretty good. I don't feel like Imp Claw needed a buff. I think the item was okay, but maybe I'm mistaken, and I don't know, but 24 damage, that's a pretty big number. Third Eye was removed. Okay. It was a pretty foolish item. I had this really funny circumstance happen in my game where I believe my Dark Willow was actually trying to gank someone in the bottom lane and they were jungling. And then when they were jungling, they kill the camp and the camp drops the third eye. They pick up the third eye and they kill my invisible Dark Willow. I was like, holy, that is... Woo! But I mean, yeah, this item was definitely a bit too good. Also, the fact that like they randomly buffed it at some point and gave it 7 attributes is a bit bizarre. Like, definitely weird. Definitely weird. They also changed Telescope from tier 4 to tier 3, and I feel like this item's okay. The Aura attack range and Aura cast range definitely has its place, especially now that you can get it at tier 3. And if tier 3 starts at minute 25, which is pretty good because, yes, I do believe that this item was not a 40-minute item. However, it definitely makes a lot of sense as a 25-minute item where you can sort of group up with these spellcasters. You can scan out areas. You can scan out Roche on a fairly low cooldown. I actually don't know what the cooldown of scan is. I believe it's around 7 minutes or so. So you're cutting that in half, which is huge. And these auras are nice, right? Especially if you happen to have some sort of a range hero strat that maybe plays around a Vengeful Spirit or something of the sort, or, or just cast range is great. 125 Aura cast range, that's solid. That's a lot of cast range. Mindbreaker, this had to happen. The silence when you hit someone was 4 seconds. It was way too long, broken item, it was stupid. Now it's 2 seconds. That is much, much better, makes more sense because this item was frankly way too good. Repair Kit now gives 13 HP regen when carrying it. That is a lot of HP regen. Now, I do understand that this item is tier 3. It used to be tier 2, in which case this 13 HP regen would be relatively broken. But because it's tier 3, I think this is mildly reasonable, considering I do think this item is actually a bit underrated, to be fair. I do think it actually has quite a good use, but the fact that it got moved to tier 3 I think really hurt this item. If there's like a 2.5, I think that's where Repair Kit would belong. Greater Fairy Fire. Charges increased from 2 to 3. This item, it is a tier 3 item, so once again, 25 minutes in. Is it good to get? Yes! 500 HP! It's 500 HP, gets you 500 HP and 30 damage. That's pretty damn good. Pretty good. I definitely have seen a lot of people pick this up, and I think if you get used to using it and get good at using it, it definitely can change a fight. Because even if you, let's say you get chipped down for like 400 damage at the beginning of the fight and you're resetting, just pop one. Just pop a charge. And all of a sudden, like, when you pop another charge, it's effectively 1,000 HP in the fight, which is huge. It's a lot. Havoc Hammer no longer increases base attack time, which is good, because why would you want to increase base attack time? It's like only very specific heroes could take this. Like Pudge was okay, and then you also have this active, which I frankly have barely seen. If maybe even, I don't even know if I've ever seen it. Maybe once, but it knocks back enemies in a 300 range in front of you, slowing them by 50% by 3 seconds, which is pretty good. But considering this is 40 minutes into the game, it's like, okay, people are gonna have a lot of dispels, kite, so it's like, yes, the slow is useful. Of course, it's a 10-second cooldown, which is relatively low, and it knocks back enemies, which could have particular value on certain ranged heroes. If you just pick this up, it gives them 18 strength, which is very significant. and it allows you to knock people back. Next up on the list, we have Illusionist Cape, and this is a massive buff. It now provides 10 strength and 10 agility, which is huge because this item was fairly useless. It just lets you spawn an illusion, which was kind of meh. It's like on an Agi core, you're going to have most of your slots by the time you can actually get this item, considering it's a tier 4. If it was tier 3, it'd be like, alright, reasonable, right? But it's tier 4, so like, I think this makes it a lot better and a lot more viable on, you know, the Agi cores I would typically want it. Boots of Travel, this needed to happen. Boots of Travel were the best item in the game, in my opinion. It just lets you TP to outposts in 3 seconds. Now you can't do that. Now it takes the 6, which, you know, other TPs had to do as well. Right, it just kind of was needed. If this was still in the game, it was too good. Same thing with Buckler, which is the next item on the list. You could start the game with a Buckler, a Branch, and Tangos, and it was really strong. I think people, frankly, are still going to buy Buckler. It's 500 gold. I mean, you can still go Buckler Tangos, so I would not give up on this item yet. I still think Buckler is one of the best items in the game because it lets you have 2 armor on all your heroes and creeps, making your laning stage significantly stronger. All of the stat items are 5 gold less. Very cool. Vlad's and Drums were both nerfed. I don't feel like these items needed nerfs, but they were nerfed. Sentry Ward, 90 gold. Oh, I don't know what I'm saying. That is not what happened. I take that back. Sentry Ward replenish interval reduced from 95 to 90, meaning that you can get more Sentry Wards. Nice. Silver Edge buff. For the hero changes, I'm not going to talk about all of them because most of the time it's just relatively useless stuff. For Abaddon, I'm just going to say he got nerfed. Bloodseeker, nerfed. Clinks, slightly buffed. Do I think this hero is good? I think Clinks is okay. I think he's very good in low armor pubs when no one's really farming and you just need some brawling hero. If you play around his ulti and, you know, get Death Pact and then ulti, you deal an insane amount of damage. Especially if people don't buy Glimmer Caves, Force Staffs, and Ghost Scepter. I think one of the main issues with Clinks is his inability to deal with these items. He doesn't have a stun or like an innate slow. And as a result, like when people buy, you know, these 3 main core support items, they just destroy this hero, so struggles in high MMR games for that reason in my opinion, but for the most part in low MMR, it's quite strong. Arcane Aura no longer gives them magic resistance. They removed it, but they did buff our Crystal Nova again. It was nerfed to 14 seconds to level 1 recently, I think even last patch it was, and now it is back down to 11 at level 1, which I think is just better for CM, to be honest. The magic resistance was really strong, but I do think I would prefer the 11-second cooldown at level 1, so I could potentially, you know, get those first bloods, get those solo kills in lane, and then just trade a little bit better, but I don't know. Not sure how I feel about that. Overall, nerf, still solid hero though. Enchantress. I do think Enchantress is actually a pretty solid offlaner. I don't take my word for that. I haven't tested it yet, so I'm going to get to it and probably make a video for the main gameleap website while I'm there. But until then, guess we'll have to see. They also changed Sproink, and I don't know what Sproink is. I don't think anyone has ever tried using Sproink. I don't think Sproink is particularly good. What I believe is it makes Enchantress leap backwards and dodge projectiles, which I suppose could be relevant in specific matchups, very specific matchups, such as Vengeful Spirit. Or, I can't think of any others. There's definitely a couple, though. Next up on the list is Juggernaut. Base attack speed increase. Okay, yeah, I think this hero wasn't a very great carry. I don't think he did anything better than others. And as a result, him getting a buff makes a lot of sense to me. Kunkka, just nerfed. Lone Druid, slightly nerfed. Still a very good hero. Magnus Ags has been... it hurt. And so I wouldn't recommend buying Ags right away on Magnus. If you're still a Magnus player, what I would suggest to you is that you go this like Echo Saber, Blink, BKB, and then maybe an Ags afterwards. If you still think the Ags is really good, I mean, albeit I don't think this kills the Ags by any means. I mean, a 6-second skewer is still pretty absurd. So not dead, just worse. Mars, I think Mars is becoming a better hero very quickly. I do think this Bulwark thing is, even though it seems like a joke, I do think it's actually mildly relevant, fairly good, and yeah, the Bulwark front damage reduction is now 40% at level 1, and I believe that's just a passive, so like straight up, you just take a value point of this at level 2 in the laning stage, or even level 1 if you just like want to full out just tank the lane, and like you really don't feel like you need to secure range creep or anything like that. You just take your Bulwark, and you just tank 40% of the damage, and you never have to turn around. It's not like Bristle, you just tank it all. It's super good. 40% is a brutally large number. And yes, big laning stage buff for Mars. Medusa, I mean, as a joke, we think this hero should be using Stone Gaze for Ancients. Me and my friends were kind of talking about it. You can freeze the Ancients and move from camp to camp faster while Stone Gazing now. So, you know, if you hit level 6 and you're contemplating, should I take Stone Gaze, or you're level 11 and you haven't skilled it yet, like the typical Medusa, then yeah, I would consider it and use it when farming. I'm kind of joking, I'm kind of not. But she did get a mana shield absorption increase from 60 to 70%, which is a lot. That's a big number. for a hero that, you know, relies on being tanky, so pretty good. Monkey King base armor increase. The hero needed this. His landing stage was very underwhelming as a result of his armor deficiency, so a start. Nature's Prophet, his damage variant is worse now in terms of its max damage. Oracle is not that much better. Phoenix, 1 armor. Puck had to be nerfed, so I think overall this is one of the better changes. His base armor was reduced by 2, which prevents him from being such a good flex pick. He still can be a flex pick, but he is now a significantly worse flex pick because you don't trade nearly as well in lane due to the fact that you have 2 less armor, and your silence is 30 damage less at level 1, which is a big deal. Ricky, I do think that Ricky is actually pretty potent, especially in pubs. I think this Tricks of the Trade thing is relatively strong. He's very difficult to kill without coordinated ganks due to the fact that you have 2 Blink Strike charges and Tricks of the Trade and invisibility. Ricky is a top tier escape hero. He's an escape artist. So yes, if you're looking for a carry or an offlaner or even a mid laner to play in pubs, I do think Ricky is very, very viable, especially the lower MMR you go. SF, apparently this hero was pretty good already. Apparently SF was fine, and he got buffed. So SF, pretty viable. The Fear on his ulti feels very potent because typically what would happen when SF goes in is that people would cancel it or, you know, they would disengage from him. But now that he has a Fear, it allows him to solo kill even like high HP heroes such as a Quap with a, you know, maybe even a BKB or a Storm that just happens to have a lot of HP and won't get one-shotted by Requiem. It allows you to kill heroes like that. In addition, it allows you to just be a significantly better team fighter. So overall, yes, I think Shadow Fiend is very good and I really like him as a right-clicker. Sniper agility gain increase. TA. Talent nerfs. Tidehunter. Kraken Shell was changed, and what I'm noticing here is that they obviously did this, as they stated, this was a result of the innate damage block changes, but now it is 7 higher, which is huge. So taking Kraken Shell, weird. So the reason why this Kraken Shell actually concerns me is because they made it where Stout Shield no longer works with other forms of block. Like straight up, you know what I mean? So the only time this becomes viable is once, like, it's literally useless at level 1, right? Or I guess it's not because it's 100% of the time, right? But the thing is you either get 100% of 12 block or you get 50% chance to block for 16. And obviously 100 is better, but that means you have to expend a skill point, which is not very good. So I don't know how I feel about this. Kind of weird. Tiny Tree Grab, holy. They reduced the numbers on that. Actually, that's not that bad. It definitely matters because it's 30% less, but you're not really hitting buildings early into the game, so I don't think that's that big of a deal. Treant, this is the biggest buff of the patch. I'm sure if you watched any other videos of the patch already, you'll know this. If you didn't, now he has a passive ability, like, just begins the game with an ability. What? Why is that the case? Why is that the case? Why does he have this? Who thought this was a good idea? Why is this the case? Because it lets you go in the trees. You're not invisible, but if you don't take damage for 3 seconds, you can walk through trees. When you're in the trees, you get 25% more regen and heal, as well as a 15% movement bonus. Why is this the case? Why would they put this in? I think the hero was pretty okay. Not only that, really not only that, but I think it would have been fine if you just gave them the ability to walk through trees and not extra regen, as well as 15% movement speed. Do you guys understand how high of a number that is? 15% on a hero that requires movement speed to track people down, get a vision, deward, move around the map. This is broken. Like, what? Also, they made living armor different. Basically, they made the numbers worse, but it is global now. So yeah, that's how I look at that. And then he had a bunch of talent changes, essentially because, you know, they gave him this new passive. At level 10, you can make it where you can go in the trees and be invisible, so Treant is, like, impossible to kill. And a bunch of other talent changes that are overall, I would say, better for the hero. Undying Tombstone damage is better. Also, your Flesh Golem damage per second has been increased, so overall, pretty good Undying changes. I don't think this hero is actually that bad. I just think you should be maxing Soul Rip if you're playing it. Ursa, Strength Gain reduced, and Mana Regen talent reduced, which actually hurts him a lot because that Mana Regen talent is great on the hero. So yeah, I mean, Ursa still feels pretty good in my opinion. The hero just, like, its mobility and the change to the Q that just lets him be this, like, zoom hero is so strong. So, like, I don't know. I don't think Ursa's out of the meta. I think this Q change is still way too prevalent. Like, Ursa, this hero that used to really struggle to stay on top of people, no longer has that issue. And it's like, well, okay, that means he's really good. Vengeful Spirit, another nerf. That is insane. This hero is apparently just way too good, which I sort of tend to agree. I think that illusion is just broken. I really, really do. The fact that you die and continue to auto-attack people and provide auras and things like that, it's like, what? Like, really? I don't think that makes that much sense. I really don't. And finally, Venomancer. This had to happen. It had to happen, guys. I know. Alright, I get it. You're all upset. I'm going to be holding a service later today, and we will be commemorating Venno for his very noble deeds of being the most obnoxious hero of this patch. Because he just reduced healing by 30% all the time. Which was funny. It was very funny. But the hero's been nerfed. Now it only reduces healing by 15, which frankly isn't that bad. And Poison Sting has been nerfed at all levels, meaning it is 14. Instead of being 14 at level 2, it is now 12, and it goes from 30 all the way down to 24, which actually is a lot considering you can proc 2 of these, because the Venomancer Poison Sting and like with your normal hero and Plague Wards actually is completely separate, so you can do both on the heroes. So it's a big deal that, you know, when it gets nerfed once, it actually is getting nerfed twice. In addition, you know, the regen is reduced. But the thing is, like, it's bad for the laning stage, of course, but it's actually not that bad for the overall game, because you're maxing Poison Sting in 99% of matches anyway. So overall, I don't think this is that bad. I still think Venno is a top tier offlaner is what I'm going to say, but definitely this hurts him quite a bit. So I think this is a good change because it doesn't kill the hero, but I do think the hero is still really good. But thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed the patch analysis of 7.23, of course, like the video. I appreciate it as always. You know, it helps out your boy Speed pay the bills, because currently I actually don't have water. Yes, I'm actually living on Nilla wafers and milk, strictly. So I would appreciate it if you could help me out. Bye. Hey, thanks everyone for watching the video. But before you leave, I just want to mention once again, we've made 36 new pieces of content in the last week. It's insane. Like, we're literally pumping out more and more every single day. Just extremely consistent, amazing content that we are making just for you guys so that you can excel in 7.23. So check it out, and I'll see you there.